I'll let you know in 15 seconds. Hey, what are we talking about today?
Nerdy stuff.
Nerdy stuff.
I hope you have your video game stuff.
We're gonna talk about stuff. There, we're good.
Hey, welcome back to the Nub Podcast. I'm the Merce.
Hey, it's Felton.
And today we actually have a guest with us. We have one of our new admins, the bald bearded bard, also known as Stony. Stony, say hey.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right. And now throw your hands in the air. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's not that kind of podcast. All right. So, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I care. You were gonna say throw your hands in the air like you just don't care. I care.
I wasn't going to say like you just don't care, though. I know that you care, especially when you're on the dance floor. I've seen you at the cons dancing, so I know that you care.
Yeah, I have a legendary reputation.
Speaking of cons, we have Dragon Con coming up in less than a month now?
Yes.
Is that right?
4 weeks.
Are you ready for that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are all your cosplays done?
I'm just gonna. This is more of a recycle year for me. I'm just gonna pack what I have and not do anything new. My pirate coat for Beetlejuice just isn't showing up. It's on like 5 months back order now, so I just don't expect it to show up in time. So Pirate Beetlejuice was gonna be my main fun one this year, and I just don't think that's happening. So.
Well, the same thing happened to me and Foxtail. Actually, we were gonna buy the Proton packs, and they won't come in until like 3 days after the con or something crazy like that. So she was going to do the Harley Quinn Ghostbuster, and I was going to do the fat overweight Thor Ghostbuster.
Oh, good.
But yeah, it's not going to happen. So so now that we've got Stony on the podcast, I wanted to talk to Stony a little bit because Stony also won that that contest from Mad Cave Studios for writing comic books. You know, the one that I won as well.
Yes.
And he also writes for, well, he's the writer and editor for nerdbastards.com. Well, I don't know anymore. You'll have to tell us, Tony, because I guess they're getting bought out. So anyways, Stony, tell us about what you kind of submitted. Like, what was your idea or angle when you applied for the contest for Mad Cave Studios?
I submitted 2 scripts, one for Battle Cats and one for Midnight Task Force. And the one for Battle Cats, I did a story about there's an island where they train the people to become Battle Cats when it's called for. If one dies in battle, then they call them these ones are being trained. And so. Mm-hmm. My idea was taking 3 trainees who were doing exercises that they weren't really thrilled with and thought were dumb, and were talking about it just as their sensei came in. And he told them stories about legendary battle cats that used the exact same exercises they were using to save their own lives or other people's lives. And so you got these 3 kind of flashback stories of these legendary battle cats.
Oh, that's awesome. So you got these douchebag like trainees like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, this isn't going to work out. And then the old grizzled guy comes in here and says, hey, you need to do those push-ups and those those crunches because in the end, this happened.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah. Yeah, he came in and caught them bad-mouthing these exercises and stuff and put them in their place. And I thought it was...
So you kind of went like Full Metal Battle Cats, you know? Like, you know...
Absolutely, yeah.
Was it the only thing I know that comes from Battle Cat land is steers and queers? And you don't look like no steer, boy. All right, sorry. So then what was your Mad Cave, or what was your Midnight Task Force idea?
Midnight Task Force, I said it in the world, didn't actually use many of the characters themselves, but it was a cyberpunk story about this guy who he bought a drug, an illicit drug, and it was the way he used it. And he was accosted in this alley just after using the drug by these guys who were basically just mugging him. And after he took the drug, he spasmed and convulsed and fell over. And as they went to go check him out and check his pockets, he shot up and had this super strength and kicked their asses and then walked out on the street strutting. I had a Spider-Man 3 moment where he's strutting down the sidewalk and
giving people the old finger guns, like, hey.
right, yeah, exactly. He was feeling good, pretty cocky, and this guy drove up next to him, stopped at the stoplight, and he had this nice sports car and this trophy wife with him, and so the guy took the car, beat up the driver, and took the car and drove off with the woman. And as he drives off, it pans out and pans out and pans out until the camera basically comes out of his eye, and it goes back to where he's convulsed and fell over, and he never got up.
Oh,
and,
this is all in his head.
Yeah, it was the whole thing was in his head, and this a kind of drugged out fever dream, and so the muggers were like, well, shit, what do we do with him now? You know.
That's awesome. I love that. I don't. Did Felton ever tell you what I wrote for the Batcave contest?
No.
Oh, okay. So I did one for Battle Cats as well. Mine for Battle Cats was it took place after the 5th book or 6th book in the series, when they've got like the evil version of the Battle Cats going, and they're like messing up all these local, or I'm sorry, not all these local, but they're messing up all these like fortresses and things. And I focused on a soldier in one of those fortresses who's on his way to battle, and basically it's this whole thing in his head about like where he came from, and you know, how he's learned to overcome fear, and how his dad, you know, see if I this properly, his dad died in a bar fight, kind of protecting his mom's honor, and how his mom always kind of put that on a pedestal and stuff, and how he's always kind of carried himself in this way where he's just, you know, he's not going to back down from any challenge. And then he goes and he meets I don't remember which evil battle cat it was, but the one that barely talks, and he's like really like monstrously strong. Do you know which one that one is by chance, Tony?
I don't remember his name off the top of my head. No.
That's okay. But he sees basically this guy's just ripping through like all these other soldiers in the fortress that they're at, and I mean the guy kind of shits himself a little bit, but then he's like, no, you know, forget this, you know, I'm not gonna back down from anything. So he decides to go after this hulking beast of an evil battle cat, and you know, you got all this like all this background, all this story about being brave and never backing down and never, you know, and facing your fear and all this other stuff. And then all of a sudden the evil battle cat grabs him by the neck and lifts him up and breaks his neck. And that's the end of the story.
Oh my God.
Yes.
It's just like all this background, all this stuff. Like you're thinking this guy might actually have a chance at fighting this, you know, monstrous battle cat. And then it just fades to black.
So here's my
question.
Then,
yeah, go ahead.
So doesn't everyone's father die in a bar fight defending their mother's honor?
I mean, that's how my father went out.
I just thought that was like a common thing.
Yeah, that's the way my dad went.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, like I'm actually overdue for that. You know, I'm supposed to go out and get into a bar fight over. But the worst part for my son, it'll be my ex-wife. So it's just like my heart won't even be in it. Like I'm gonna get stomped out for
going through the motions.
I'm just gonna get stomped out for nothing. Like
God,
that's awful.
Why do you have to go out to bars?
Yeah, it's like, you know why I'm here. You know, I heard you were talking crap about my ex-wife. You know, that's the mother of my son. You know that we have to do. And
it has
so
to be a bar because the you know, getting beat up at a farmer's market doesn't sound as.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who wants to die like laying in a bed of like kale or something like that? You know, like who wants to go out that way?
It's not even a bar; it's a vegan restaurant.
Oh man. Oh, and the worst part is people are gonna get really pissed off when you get blood on their like salad. Like, oh no, this is not vegan.
I can't eat this. Oh.
I can't eat this. This will, you know what this will do to my insides?
Wait a minute, that didn't come from an animal, and then they realize you start this movement where vegans become cannibals because eating humans somehow isn't unethical to them, you know, because humans eat meat eaters eat animals. So then there's this whole vegan cannibal rage that starts to happen.
And that's the beginning of The Walking Dead. That's where that's where the virus came from.
They're all just vegans.
It's goddamn vegans. Goddamn vegans.
I love it.
I gotta tell you too, like you would like it's not like you would mistake being in the vegan restaurant either, because everyone there will tell you they're a vegan as soon as you walk in, because that's like the vegan thing, is that you have to let everyone know around you that you are a vegan. Like,
yeah.
Oh my god. One of these times we'll have to have my buddy from work on so we can talk to him about being a vegan, because I give him a hard time all the time about it. But anyways, I digress. So the other the other story that I submitted for them, also I did Midnight Task Force, and for me though, I did it from the in Midnight Task Force. I only read the first couple of issues of that one, and it kind of bothered me at one point in time where the main character meet some floozy in a bar, because we're back to the bar again, because that's how it goes, and they're in the bathroom and they're making out and stuff like that, and it's really hot and heavy, and then he takes his shirt off or something, and she realizes that he has a cybernetic hand, and then she's totally turned off, and she slaps him in the face and she leaves him. Right now there is no explanation or any kind of background as to why anyone would be turned off or worried about somebody with a cybernetic appendage, especially because this takes place in like a cyberpunk kind of future. So it takes place in Detroit. So I went with the whole idea that, because Detroit was, the car state and things like that. I imagine that another like industry came in there that was building some kind of machinery of some sort. And what ended up happening is that company that was building the machinery and stuff, was employing a good portion of Detroit, went under. Like all the machine shops and everything like that go under in Detroit, and they kind of leave that city to just kind of crumble in on itself. So I did it from the viewpoint of a serial killer who is mad at people with cybernetics, or not even mad about people with cybernetics. He wants to purify people that have cybernetics, because he came from a broken household where his father lost his job working in one of these places. He became very abusive to him and his mom, all this other stuff. So now he sees that people that have cybernetic implants and stuff like that are impure, right? So he's at a crime scene watching the main detective from this Midnight Task Force as he's going over like this dead body that the serial killer left there, and she had like a cybernetic eye implant or something like that he removed and all that kind of stuff. And he's talking to himself as he watches the detective, or the agent, the main character of the Midnight Task Force, go over the crime scene. And as he's talking to himself, he's talking about how how he's going to be a prize, and he's going to purify him, and he can't wait to get him into his web so he can basically remove his cybernetic arm and stuff. And then we follow him back home as he's still kind of rambling to himself, because he's crazy, and crazy people do that. And then he gets back to his house, and he's got this he lives in the basement of an apartment complex, and in his basement apartment he has a soundproof room. And he opens the door of the soundproof room, and there we've got another one of his victims hanging there, pleading for his life, with his cybernetic leg, removed, and kind of laying on the floor. And it's kind of like one of those lead up, if it were to become a story later, that the serial killer is going to basically start trying to hunt the Midnight Task Force detective by leaving this trail of dead bodies and stuff, So that was the two that I sent in.
Was this implied in the beginning, in this first situation where she was upset about the cybernetic hand? The cybernetic hand was made, it was clearly a Chinese or Chinese company made hand.
No.
She was upset about it.
No. That's the whole reason I focused on that part of making that story, is because in the comic books that I read, I read 3 of them, they don't explain why, but people have an aversion in that universe to people with cybernetics, and I couldn't find anywhere why they had that aversion. And for me, that it was a big plot hole, right? So I created that whole little story so I could fill in that plot hole, and that's why there's people in Detroit that have prejudice towards people that have any kind of implants or anything like that, is because that kind of business is what built up Detroit again and then brought Detroit down. You see what I'm saying?
Genius, though. That's like having bias against a foreign car company. She sees the hand,
exactly,
and then it's a hand made from a Chinese company, so she's offended. Oh, that's a genius spin on it.
Yeah, I dig it.
for me it was a glaring plot hole, and I was like, why is she so angry about this guy's cybernetic arm?
Well, that's the opposite of like Cyberpunk, the world that they're creating with Cyberpunk 2077, because, implants are like now a common thing in society. They're considered sexy, and people, get this whole aspect of like body dysmorphia and like, over engineer their bodies. And I mean, I really can't wait to see where they're going with that. That's going to be really cool. As the side note.
I just love how you bring like every conversation that we have now, every one of these podcasts, back to that Cyberpunk game coming out. Like,
I don't wait, know. Okay.
It doesn't matter what we're talking about. We could have been talking about My Little Pony and been like, oh, that's cool.
They're gonna have a
what's awesome?
Level in My Little Pony.
You know that one pony that looks like Keanu Reeves? Well, Keanu Reeves makes an appearance in that new Cyberpunk game, and it's like 6 degrees of separation from Cyberpunk every time I talk to you on the podcast now.
I can't help it.
Just pointing that out.
I have a prejudice to things that aren't Cyberpunk.
Well, I can't with you. All right. So another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Stoney, the nerdbastards.com. So they've got new managers coming in, right? New people that have bought out the old owners of the webpage, correct?
Correct. The founder, Luke Gallagher, he had sold it to a company, and that company has again sold it off to yet another company. And we don't have a whole lot of information from them yet.
Mm-hmm.
They switched servers, and it took down some of the pages. It was like a cached version of the website.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're missing some stuff. There's apparently a whole channel off to the side that's gone.
I definitely know that we're missing some stuff, because I did that interview with I think I was telling you about this last time, Felton, with Cecil Garner,
yes.
Cecil Grimes, the Walking Dead cosplayer, and now I can't get that to load up for anything, and I feel bad because he was asking me like, hey, did that interview go really well? I was like, yeah, you didn't see it, and I tried to show it to him, it's not there, so. Hopefully it comes back. Otherwise, I might have to write another article for him for someone else.
Yeah, some of us can't even access the website to add new stuff. A bunch of us can't get to the Twitter anymore. We heard from him this morning, and he said, I don't know when the issue will be resolved. Once we fully complete the transfer on the site, I'm sure our team can dig into it more. And that's all we've heard. So.
This is like the internet version of going to your job, and then they've got the lock on the door, and they've totally closed you out. And you're like, oh my god, I was supposed to work today.
It's the internet version of when your dad goes to buy cigarettes and he doesn't come home.
But if something happens and they, God forbid, do something crazy like close the site, the editors for the site will move on to something else. So we'll create our own thing and keep going. So.
Well, I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. Felton and I have a Felton, is that you?
No, if you can give me a second, keep talking. I got to go shut the bedroom door.
Okay. Felton and I have a Nerds United in Brevard website that also has the function of, I think he just shot his dogs. Did you hear that?
I did. That's crazy.
I think he just shot his dogs. We should just keep talking like that didn't happen.
But yeah,
I don't want him to come to my house and shoot me next. So, but yeah, we have a website that can post articles as well. So we could always just write articles for the nub.
Definitely, absolutely.
But now. I'm going to go right into, I know you can't tell us much about your actual, wow. I think he's actually fist fighting his dogs now.
They might be fighting back.
That's what I'm thinking. There's like an overthrow going on in his house right now.
So there's
a doggy revolution.
That was actually my pull-up bar. I forgot that I had it in the door frame, and I went to close the door, and it hit me in the head and fell to the ground.
Well, I have to ask you, did you shoot your dogs?
No. I tried
it sounded like
I tried to jump over the gate, and it caught my foot, and I knocked the gate over and fell.
See, we are the worst podcast on the internet. I swear to God.
So
we have no professional.
I'm pretty injured right now.
You broke a leg. That's how dedicated you are. They're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna deal with the pain after the podcast.
I'll deal with a swollen ankle. It's fine.
All right. So back to Stoney real quick. Stoney, I know you can't tell us much about your Mad Caves comic book, obviously, because we're not supposed to really reveal anything until they come out. But can you maybe give us like a vague description, or not even vague description, just kind of like some vague information about it that later on when people actually find out about, they'll be like, oh, okay.
Oh man, I'm not sure how much I can say. I know that it's already been released that the title is called Villainous.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, there's they haven't released anything, so I'm not sure how much I can actually say. I will say that I am writing this as if it were my love letter to the superhero genre.
Okay.
And so I think that's, I'm able to explore the things that I love about it, and the things that I don't so much love about it. And yeah.
All right. Well, that works. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot or get you in trouble, because I haven't been able to say much about my book either. So, but let me ask you this: what's your overall experience been working with Mad Cave so far?
Well, this is my first professional comic book. I wrote a couple of scripts privately before this, so this is my first real foray into the actual job. And so far, it's been really, really great. The one thing that I wish I'd known going into it was how long it was going to take.
Right?
Like,
exactly.
I go through these. It's an emotional roller coaster because I get pumped. I hear from them, and I submit a script, or I get edits back, and it's like this huge high, and I love it, and I'm working on it, and then sometimes I don't hear things for a long time. Because,
I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah, and so I try not to think about it and put it out of my head, and try to do something else, and then I get an alert. I got an email like, "Holy cow! Yeah, let's do this!" And it's a high again. So, but every time I hear from it, it's always been good, and every edit I've gotten back has been a lot of fun, and I feel like my book's stronger for it. So,
absolutely. I know that we share the same editor. I've talked about her before on the podcast. Her name is Gio, and she is, I mean, dead on. Like, every time she's told me I should do this or change that, she's been absolutely correct. There was an issue that I had with one of my issues. Well, that was worded strange, but where I did a lot of flashback stuff, and for the story, I thought it worked, but she was completely right when she said that it was too much flashback and it would confuse the reader, especially like I think I told you the other day. You know, you always have to keep in mind that every comic book is somebody's first comic book. Every time somebody reads it, they might be reading your story for the first time, even if it's in the middle of the story. So you kind of have to, you have to keep from jarring them or losing them. So every time Gio said anything, I haven't argued, because it's all been correct. I think the only issue that I've even had so far is that I felt like one of the characters needed to be a little darker skin color wise, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah, I absolutely love Gio, and it's funny that I feel really lucky that I was paired with her, and that she gets this book as much as I hope she would. We were talking about, I think I mentioned something about I got a new album to listen to while I was writing, and talking about the stuff I listen to while I write. And she said, if you listen to music while you write, I think you should listen to this. And she handed me or sent me this long email with a bunch of songs and videos and stuff. She said, I think this band would be really, really good to listen to when you do this. And I went and spent half a night catching up with this band I'd never even heard of, and she got it. Like, it really captured the overall theme of what I was going for, and I was just blown away by how much she really got what I was trying to say here. So yeah,
Absolutely, yeah. She did the same thing with me. She told me, I was listening to this band while I was reading your book, and it really like tied in really well. You should listen to it, and I did, and I was like, wow, she really does get where we're going with this. So yeah, absolutely, she does a fantastic job. So I can't wait to see where things go with that. And then Anthony Cleveland has his book coming out before ours. It actually comes out this month, and that is End of Show, which I am really excited for. I cannot wait to read this book. It looks amazing. It's like a dark circus kind of book, with a little bit of heart. So I am really excited to see what he did there.
Yeah, I went out and pre-ordered it from my local comic book store, and unfortunately, I'm so far out that my local comic book store doesn't get comic books the week they come out. They're usually about a week late.
Oh,
so I will be a week behind everybody else reading this book.
Oh, and
I'm super.
And I'm going to spoil the hell out of it for you, just so you know.
Absolutely.
I'm going to actually text you page by page shots to screw the whole thing up for you.
I hope you do, yeah.
But I'm going to actually start from the last page and go backwards, just to really mess it up.
Oh, that's even worse.
Like, oh, it's up. Exactly. It's really strange they started the book this way. Oh, no, wait, this is the last page. All right, where are we at time-wise, Felton? I apologize, I did not hit the timer this time.
We are at 26:13.
Okay, we're at 26:13. So this time, oh, you know what? Since we have a guest, which I guess won't be a guest if we keep suckering him in to be on the podcast with us. So what we do every podcast now, something new that we started, Stoney, is called the Die of Destiny. We take turns rolling the die, right? If it lands on a D20, the person who rolled it has the person who wasn't rolling it tell a very personal, or not personal, but very embarrassing story. And if the roll is a 1, then the person who rolled the die has to tell an embarrassing story. Does that make sense?
Sounds great.
Okay. Now, since you're a guest, I'd like to do something a little different. Do you have a D20 available? Or any die for that matter.
Yeah.
All right. What do you have? Is it a D20?
I have a D20.
Okay. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to roll a D20, okay, and tell me the number that you get, and then we're gonna add or subtract that number to the dice roll that I'm gonna make here. Okay. It's gonna be up to you whether we add it, subtract it, or don't use it at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if that adds up to 20 or 1, whatever the case is, then we'll go from there, okay? So go ahead and roll your D20.
And we got a 12.
Okay. Now, would you like to add or subtract that or not add it at all from the dice that I'm going to roll now? And you know what? To make it even more interesting, if I roll a natural 20 or a natural 1, then we're gonna do that no matter what, okay?
Sounds good. Let's add.
You're going to add it. Okay. So here I go to roll my D20 of Destiny. We're going to add 12 to it. And I got 13. So that actually goes over 20. So you know what? I think we will count that as a 20. What do you guys think?
That's fine.
Sounds good to me.
All right. So Felton, since I rolled this natural 20, tell us a story.
Oh God. Now I'm on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's something embarrassing, right?
Yes, yeah. Otherwise, like, why tell it?
Okay. Did I ever tell you about the time that I what is that coconut oil, MDT oil, right?
Oh yeah. You didn't tell me the story though, but go ahead.
Okay. So, I started it's probably over a year ago. It was a time where, these Atkins diet and high protein diets were really popular, and they were saying, hey, if you have this MDT oil, let me tell you, it is the best thing to help you with your low carb. So I was listening to the internet, I was listening to some coworkers, and I thought, well, why don't I go get some? So I bought this overly expensive bottle. It cost me about $45.99 from Lucky's. And I thought, this is pretty cool. Okay, it's just like this oily stuff. You put it in your coffee. It doesn't even taste like anything. All right, first time I did it, it didn't really seem to do much. So one time,
I think I know where this is going.
Later on in the day, my fiance and I we're going shopping at Publix, and we're in the I believe it was somewhere near the you know where they have the subs and you can get the subs, but there's also like bread and stuff around there. We were looking for breading for some type of casserole or something she was making. And me being a jackass, you know, I have to force my farts out whenever I go to pass gas. You know, you gotta really, you know, put some oomph into it, really try and get some pressure behind it. So, you know, per my usual methodology, I went to fart and realized that it had an accompaniment. And I'm standing there horrified in the aisle like, oh my, that was very, very warm for a gaseous anomaly, or it should have been. So I proceeded to panic, and she's just looking at me like, what? You're gross. What are you doing? And I just straight bolted to the bathroom in Publix because of the MDT oil. So, yeah, I don't recommend doing that.
Let me ask you this. Did you have to, like, leave your underwear in the bathroom? Or is it one of those situations? Here's the miraculous
part, okay? It was... I had to have been blessed that day because when I got to the bathroom and I checked and I had light-colored underwear on that day, nothing made it there, right? Like, I apparently have amazing control, and I was able to pucker that up and just made a mess, but not in my shorts. So you like closed the bay doors just in time. It was an Indiana Jones moment, except he didn't make it out.
This is my favorite story ever. This is
yeah. Oh well, then you need to go back. You need to go back and listen to the time that I had to roll my D20
and tell the story. Stories. This is what they're going to be.
That's what it sounds like. It's not like it's all going to be short stories. Just straight short stories. All right, guys. Well, we will end this episode here. Please like and subscribe, and I mean, just grind the hell out of that like button or whatever it is that those people say. Just grind on it. Just go to town on it. Just use your tongue. Whatever you got to do. Just like and subscribe and let people know if you like listening to our podcast. And if you don't, I can definitely understand because this is our third shit story,
something like that. Yeah. But you could still like anyway. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you can still like, yeah. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and end this one. Then I'm the Merce.
It's Felton.
And I'm the Bald Bard.
There we go. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.